Hello everybody, Lucas Clay here with the Importance of Philosophy Part 11. As usual, I'll be reading mostly verbatim from the website importanceofphilosophy.com. The material is copyrighted by Jeff Landauer and Joseph Rollins, and the video was made by me with their permission. We begin today talking about ethics. What is ethics? Ethics is the branch of study dealing with what is the proper course of action for man. It answers the question, what do I do? It is the study of right and wrong in human endeavors. At a more fundamental level, it is the method by which we categorize our values and pursue them. Do we pursue our own happiness, or do we sacrifice ourselves to a greater cause? Is that foundation of ethics based on the Bible, or on the very nature of man himself, or neither? Why is ethics important? Ethics is a requirement for human life. It is our means of deciding a course of action. Without it, our actions would be random and aimless. There would be no way to work towards a goal, because there would be no way to pick between a limitless number of goals. Even with an ethical standard, we may be unable to pursue our goals with the possibility of success. To the degree which a rational ethical standard is taken, we are able to correctly organize our goals and actions to accomplish our most important values. Any flaw in our ethics will reduce our ability to be successful in our endeavors. What are the key elements of a proper ethics? A proper foundation of ethics requires a standard of value to which all goals and actions can be compared to. This standard is our own lives and the happiness which makes them livable. This is our ultimate standard of value, the goal in which an ethical man must always aim. It is arrived at by an examination of man's nature and recognizing his peculiar needs. A system of ethics must further consist of not only emergency situations, but the day-to-day choices we make constantly. It must include our relations to others, and recognize their importance not only to our physical survival, but to our well-being and happiness. It must recognize that our lives are an end in themselves, and that sacrifice is not only not necessary, but destructive. The basics we will cover: our life as the moral standard, morality as a guide to living, reason as man's means of survival, values, virtue, self-interest and harmony of interests. The specifics we will cover are self-reliance/independence, productiveness, integrity, honesty, pride, justice, benevolence and rationality. And the technicalities we will discuss are metaphysical justice, free will, courage and the Trader principle. Our next topic is, man's life as his moral standard. In her book Atlas Shrugged, Ayn Rand said, quote, "For centuries, the battle of morality was fought between those who claimed that your life belongs to God and those who claimed that it belongs to your neighbors, between those who preached that the good is self-sacrifice for the sake of ghosts in heaven and those who preached that the good is self-sacrifice for the sake of incompetence on earth. And no one came to say that your life belongs to you, and that the good is to live it." End quote. Life is the process of self-sustaining and self-generating action. Life requires action, and action requires values. Philosophy in general, and ethics in particular, attempt to answer the questions, what do I do, and why? People study philosophy so they can know how to live their life. So that you can live life successfully and happily, you must learn which values to hold, and how to achieve them. This is your life as your moral standard. All moral questions of right action, are questions of how to live happily and successfully, and all moral principles must be measured against how they promote and benefit your life and happiness. Your life as your moral standard holds all things promoting your life as the good. To every living thing, there is one primary choice, and that is to live or not, to engage in the action required to further its own life or to engage in action that destroys its own life. The only other alternative is death. Choosing life as your standard of value is a pre-moral choice. It cannot be judged as right or wrong, but once chosen, it is the role of morality to help man to live the best life possible. The opposite of choosing life is altruism, the moral doctrine that holds death as its moral standard. It holds sacrifice as the only good, and all things selfish as evil. According to altruism, it doesn't matter what you do, as long as it does not further your life, it is considered good. The more consistently a person is altruistic, the closer their actions are to suicide. The consistent altruist will give up every bit of food he owns to other people, because that is what he considers good, and die because of it. Your life as your standard does not mean hedonism, the spur of the moment instant gratification, doing whatever you feel like. Your life as your standard means acting in your rational self-interest. Rational self-interest takes into account the long-term effects of every action. Your life as your standard does not mean trampling on other people to get what you want. This is not in your rational self-interest. It is in your interest to be benevolent. Nor does your life as your standard mean cheating people to get ahead, even if they don't realize it, and you never get caught. Fraud is not in your rational self-interest, because you lose your independence, and you sacrifice honesty to an unreality that you have to maintain to perpetrate your fraud. This is self-destructive in the long run. In order to know what is good, which actions are objectively in a person's self-interest, we develop virtues which are principles of action. Our next topic is morality as a guide to living. Choosing to live is a pre-moral choice, after which, the question becomes how? This is the same as what do I do? One can either go about it randomly, or with a methodology designed for success. That methodology is called morality. An explicit morality allows one to choose rationally among values. It makes the selection of values rational, by providing a method to evaluate them. Values are compared to a moral standard, and prioritized according to how well they promote that standard. To make decisions easier, we develop virtues which are moral habits which tend to help gain values. Historically, the concept of morality has often been used negatively as a list of thou shalt nots in check against one's actions. The stance taken is often that it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you don't violate any moral edicts, but the source of these moral edicts is often mystical or arbitrary. A list of prohibitions, even if founded in reason rather than mysticism, is not a sufficient outline for success. Morality should be positive rather than negative. Not what shouldn't I do, but what should I do? The problem with defining morality negatively is that pretty much anything goes, provided one avoids a few problem areas. This is not useful, because within the sphere of pretty much anything goes, there is no methodical way to choose which action is best, whereas positive morality sets forth habits which lead to the achievement of values and methods for choosing what to value, which is the way to live and thrive. With one's own life as the standard of value, morality is not a burden to bear, but a prudent and effective guide which furthers life and success. This ends our discussion for today. Goodbye everyone.